Hey guys, how's it going? I am coming to you with a new video today. This video is from the Cobb Park Criterium. There were, I believe, 36 riders in this race, and we had payments out to 15th place. So you can see right there, kind of a rough start. The guy in front of me failed to clip in, which means I had to unclip to get around him. And then I was chasing in way in the back of the group. This is Aaron Hampton here. You've seen him in a couple other videos. So we catch on to the group right here. Pace is already pretty high. Luckily, we didn't get caught too far back. Otherwise, we would have really had to work pretty hard to get back into the group. So we are just chased back on here. At this point, I'm kind of panicking because of how far back I am. Obviously, this is only the first lap of the race, so it's not a huge deal, but I do need to think about starting to move up through the pack. This course is backwards from the way that I rode the course last year for the state championships. And this corner right here, and then the one that comes up after the small chicane, are pretty tight, and there's not really a whole lot of room to move up between them. You can kind of move up in between the straights for between the chicane, but other than that, you can't really move up on this part of the course. So we come out of this corner, and you'll see throughout the entire video for the whole race, it was come out of this corner, lay down some watts, and then relax. So we come in for finishing the first lap, and again, I'm really wanting to think about starting to move up through the pack here. You can see there's a ton of guys in front of me, and it's not really where I want to be at all for any point in the race. So this is coming back onto the straightaway again, and I've started to move up through the group. I see this guy on the left kind of start to push it a little bit, and I think that's a perfect wheel to follow to move up through the group. And you can see I pass a ton of guys as we come up towards the front. And this is really where I want to stay for most of the race. You know, top 10, maybe 15 wheels. Really don't even want to be that far back. So we come in through the finish line again, and I'm a little bit more comfortable with my position in the pack at this point. I know that there are only a few riders in front of me, so I only have to worry about the few riders in front of me unless an attack goes. Right here on my right is a good buddy Yannick. I raced with him a bunch, and I've also ridden with him since I was in college, so it's really nice to see him out at the races again. You can see our pace has calmed down a little bit. On this portion of the course, there was also a pretty decent headwind, so pushing 26, 27, 28 on this part of the course was really throwing the hammer down. You can see up the road there on the right hand side, a guy puts an attack in. We had quite a few attacks this race, but unfortunately for any of the guys that put attacks in, none of them stuck. I don't know whether it was just the group didn't want them to get away, or we just had a lot of guys who were kind of antsy to try and get into these breaks and ended up just pulling the group up each time. But none of the breakaways stuck for more than maybe a lap, maybe two. I think there might have been one that stayed away for 2 laps, but other than that, nothing really ever came of them. I was glad that I was able to restrain myself and not really chase any breaks throughout the whole race, because that allowed me to save a whole lot of energy that I otherwise would have wasted. And I'm glad to see that I can kind of restrain myself, because I do get kind of antsy, and I do want to get onto those wheels, because since I'm new to the threes, I don't know who can stay away and who can't, what wheels to follow 100% yet. I know some guys, but I don't know everybody. So again, you can kind of see that I fell back through the pack a little bit here, and I want to move forward. So I start to move around the outside of the group here through this corner. This was a really sweeping wide left-hand corner. So if you were confident in taking the corner and you could carry some speed through it, it was an easy way to pick up some wheels. So right here, this is the same lap that we were just on, a little bit further down the course. This guy right here on my left is Kevin Ramos, another good friend of mine. We ride together a bunch, race together. And right here, I kind of try and squeeze in the outside of him, and we bang bars a little bit. Not too big of a deal. I do want to mention that it was Kevin and then his buddy and teammate Mark's first race in the threes. They actually raced the fours race that day and then immediately upgraded to the threes and raced the threes race right after their race. So it was pretty cool to kind of have them in the race and see them do, pretty well for their first race. They finished in the group, and they had placed, I think Mark had won the fours race and Kevin placed like top 5, so you can't really complain about that kind of day. So again, here we're kind of picking up the pace. This is through this chicane section again. The pack is pretty spread out here, and I'm a little bit further back than I'd like to be, so I try to kind of carry some speed through this corner and just throw the hammer down right here and try and start to move up. You can kind of see everybody else has the same idea, but again, shortly after we get through this corner, everybody starts to sit up again. And I do try and use that opportunity to move up along the inside here. Right here, you have my buddy Andrew Zenz, another really strong rider. He's one guy that I know to look for. We get an attack off the left-hand side here. You can see the group doesn't really react to it right away, but our pace does start to pick up pretty quickly because, again, nobody wanted to let anything get away. And that rider does get a pretty decent gap, but again, none of the brakes stayed away all day. So again, we're coming through the chicane, and I'm starting to fall back a little bit, but it's just because I know that the group is going to slow down, and I don't really need to push myself to catch back on here, waste more energy than I need to. Just carry some speed through this corner, and I will come back up on the group when they sit up on this straightaway, like happened the entire race. And you can see that the pace is pretty high right here, but overall, there's nobody really doing anything. We're just kind of pumping along here. We did have a tailwind on this section of the course, which made it kind of nice. As we carry a pretty good amount of speed through this corner, you can kind of see these two guys here bump in front of me. That was a little nerve-wracking, but they were fine. The speed increases into this headwind again, and we really start to push the pace up. This is Corey in front of me. You've seen him in a couple videos as well. And I'm really just kind of trying to stay on the wheels, stay out of the wind. Right here on the right-hand side, I believe that's Corey and Aaron. It might be Corey and Brian, both from the Sammy's team, that throw in a pretty decent move up the road. And they are actually trying to chase a break, I believe. And I saw that, and as I saw that, I decided those are two wheels I definitely want to try and get on. And you can kind of see a bunch of guys from the group had the same idea. There's probably, at least 10 guys in front of me here. But these are definitely guys that I want to stay with if something were to happen, if the group were to split into two. I give this guy a little bit of prodding, tell him he needs to get up on that wheel so that we don't lose him. And the group just kind of starts to slow down again into this headwind part of the course. Again, right here, we have another attack from Sammy's. That one is Brian Kulak. And he puts in a solid effort. He's got a teammate near the front that doesn't have to do anything. He can just start to chase moves down. And again, that was another wheel that I know, okay, I need to keep up with the group that's chasing him because he's a strong rider. Like I've been saying, the race peloton didn't really want to let anything go the whole race, so he doesn't really get any gap here. Right here, the group kind of slowed up a little bit, and I don't know, I don't know what got into me, but I decided to make a move, and at the same time I decided to do so, Andrew decided to do so as well. And luckily for me, there was one other rider, so it was us three, and we put in a pretty solid effort here, carrying a good amount of speed through this corner, and just kind of put our head down and push the pace a little bit. We probably could have put in a little bit more through the corner there, maybe get a little bit bigger of a gap. But right here, I'm just sitting third wheel, and I think that we have space. And then I see Andrew kind of look back for a second, and he just immediately sits up. And what that signaled to me during the race was the rest of the group is with us. There's no reason to really put in a hard effort. and you can see I just kind of sit up as well and soft pedal and let some of the other riders come around me, because there's really not a whole lot of reason to waste that energy. Again here, coming out of that last corner before the straightaway, the pace is, kind of where it's been the whole race. I believe we had a 25 mile an hour average, maybe slightly higher, like 25 and a half. But I start to move up through the pack here because we're getting towards the end of the race. I think this is about 3 to go. You can see there are 2 riders off the front. This was a really dangerous move because if they were just able to hang on, they would be able to stay away. And you can see they have a decent gap. It's not huge, but it's big enough to cause worry for the rest of the group. So I think I got about 4 guys in front of me here, and we're just pushing the pace. Again, remember, this is this section of the course that has the headwind, so we're doing 27, sometimes 28 down this headwind part of the course, and really just kind of pushing it, seeing how close we can get to those guys without really reeling them in. This is coming into 2 to go, and this rider on the left here pulled off to try and get me to pull through, and I was just definitely not going to do that with 2 laps to go. So I do kind of let the group swallow me up here, and maybe a little more than I should have, because you can kind of see it probably right in this frame right now. There's just 10 riders in front of me, and I really should want to be like 5th wheel, maybe even 3rd wheel, with 2 to go. But the pace isn't too high here, so I'm comfortable. I know that I can still move up if I need to, and here we go into the last lap. So the last lap, I'm okay with my position right here. Obviously I'd like to be a little bit further up, and so what I end up doing is trying to move forward. Unfortunately, because it is the last lap, everyone else has the same idea, but I'm slowly making progress towards the front, and I really am just thinking, all right, fight for the wheels. Everybody's hurting just as much as you are. You can kind of see my heart rate right now is about 193, 194, and we're really just kind of hammering on this back straight here, just up in the pace huge, trying to spread everybody out, trying to weed out the guys who can't keep up for this last lap. And I just know that I need to hold on to a wheel. As much as it hurts, it'll be over in a minute, so there's no reason to give up here. I do kind of get pinched out a little bit and pushed back towards I think I was like maybe 10th wheel here, 12th wheel here, and this was just not what I wanted to be. I wanted to be up a little bit further. But this is kind of where I figure, all right, this is where I'm going to have to sprint from. So I move to the outside of this last corner here to try and carry a bit of speed. And as soon as I come out of this corner, I just try and throw the hammer down. And in my head, I was just thinking, draft off as many wheels as you can. And I end up moving to the outside, which maybe wasn't the best idea, because I did have to actually end up covering more ground, and you'll see I do miss a spot thanks to that. I end up getting 14th overall. I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you next time.